It's the Holy Hour. I'm Gavin.
And this is the bad boy. This is Donald.
Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us. We are
Welcome to the Tone Zone.
Yeah, this is a double-up podcast of the Holy Hour and Donald's new solo podcast, The Tone Zone, where eagles, in fact, do dare to fly in your tone zone. Other than that, I have no idea what the premise of your solo podcast is. So.
It's Kenny Loggins based.
That's all Kenny Loggins. Well, good luck with that one. And
log in to the Tone Zone.
Glad to kick it off. But for the sake of our Cure friends out there tonight, we're going to continue our series of looking at actual albums. And even though the controversy of this being not counted as an official album, we feel that it should be counted as a official album in this regards anyway. So,
I'm always gonna count it.
Yeah, it should be. But if you're totally confused already, the obvious is that it's based up of singles, 3 singles that were put out in '83, and it came out in December of '83. So, it's a weird turning point for The Cure and Robert Smith and Simon and Lowell in particular, because we're coming off the heels of Pornography, which, if you're not familiar with, go back, listen to the Pornography episode, or, look at any...
Or just listen to the records and,
or look up any Cure history. But, it all
literally look up any.
This is the point where everything fell apart, basically. Rock bottom Pornography as far as the band.
Gnarly tour,
and
just a gnarly build-up to that point. It wasn't just like one gnarly period or one hard record. It was just like a huge change, for all of them. This is them kind of
what next?
Coming down from a huge hey, we're a fucking band now. We recorded a pile of good records, game-changing records, and just a rough period for them all, just personally and just musically, and just coming down from that.
3 really good friends, and then it just like I say, musically, just it kind of imploded. Everybody had just been so exhausted and worn down from the songs, from the tours, from their relationships, and
playing those pleasant songs over and over again.
Yeah, where could that go wrong? So that's the previously on The Cure, and now we're first getting the glimpses of what happens when the dust starts to settle. All that
tour money.
Yeah,
they got all that scratch from playing Intense.
Well, I think the initial funny thing is that it's and not even that long after, it's when you really look at the timeline of all this, that's kind of almost one of the biggest themes of this whole album, and just The Cure in general, of what would be '83 represented, I guess. It was Pornography, the tour ended and the band fell apart. Simon basically split in June of '82. So this picks up almost immediately afterwards. The first single would be Let's Go to Bed. We'll backtrack and do some pre-Let's Go to Bed singles talk, but that would be the first recorded actual Cure single, and that comes out in November of '82. So it's really only from June to November before, band breaks up basically, and then they still
but I think they were.
What's that?
Oh, I was gonna say I think they were working on that stuff beforehand. They would have had to have been
a bit. There's talk of Let's Go to Bed. It's Temptation is on the deluxe version of Pornography, where there's hints of the melody and stuff, but it's so different, and totally not really. I think there's probably ideas that were floating around with Robert, but not really, because it's really weird that they just went in this whole other direction in a sense. But it kind of makes sense too when you look at everything else that went into that time period and stuff that we'll pick apart again in more detail. But we got The Glove going on, which is his side project thing with Steven Severin from Susie and the Banshees. Shortly after this, like, you know, what is initially, we'll just call it the Cure breakup or fall apart, I guess, after Pornography, he starts latching on to Susie and the Banshees, and before too long ends up becoming their touring guitarist and eventual.
But like, is this when he started, or was he already playing with them?
He wasn't playing with them yet when Pornography fell apart. Yeah, so he like kind of in his downtime, I guess that's the best places to start is like the downtime of all of them. And like Lowell went off to France and Spain just to kind of hang out, which he goes into some cool detail in his book. Just chill in France. Simon just, you know, formed some other bands and like hung around, I guess, but like, you know, wasn't really doing much. And Robert went camping with Mary, and they make it sound like it's this huge amount of time, but it must have only been
like a weekend.
Yeah, basically.
They had time off.
When you line up,
they had like regular time off and decided not to be a band. Really,
yeah, it's like they basically imploded, broke up, and then like got their whole lives back together in the span of like 3 months. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, I can't even like get my shit together in like, you know, 40 years worth of life. But yeah, so it's like you know, everyone just kind of pieced out, and like Robert went and like hung out with the Banshees again, because he had done that early tour like way back, but that was just like a one-off kind of thing. As an early fan, you always kind of mix that up. You didn't realize like what, so he played with them in order to like stay in the tour on that initial tour around Three Imaginary Boys, but he's still friends with them, I guess, and then kind of caught on to him.
Like he kind of like filled in or something.
Yeah. But it was the same kind of deal again. Like around this time, they were just wrapping up their record, and and they were like, their guitarist was just kind of a mess, I think. And they're like, we're gonna need somebody, but I'm not even sure where that falls into the timeline. But I mean, all this is crammed into basically in '83 there, and I guess the first like recorded thing after Pornography isn't even Let's Go to Bed. They do the Lament flexi pop thing. Are you familiar with that? That's like
vaguely.
It's on the Join the Dots, like the actual recording of it. But I guess this is like a magazine where it's like one of those floppy little 45s, and I guess maybe it's the actual cover or something. I don't know, but it's like a song that they put out specifically for this magazine, and and I guess
Lament.
And they asked Robert.
That's a dope song. I know the song.
Yeah, and it's really cool, and like, but the version's really weird, where like the vocals are just total like mumbling and nothing, like none of the actual words, and there's a recorder that Severin plays on it, and it's all like it's like super out of tune and shit, which would later become the keyboard part when they re-record it. But so they recorded that and had a good time apparently. So I think that kind of
the recording setting, the recorder setting on this synthesizer.
Yeah, so, you know, which is smart, you know, just do it right on a synthesizer. But I think that idea probably sparked in Robert that, you know, I should keep at least recording and doing something, you know, as opposed, because I think at that point, maybe on some degree, he was willing to just throw it all in and not do anything of his own music, just playing Susie and the Banshees. I think it was all kind of up in the air, you know. So,
and I think it was like you've been saying, is like heavily up in the air. Like it was a big, I think it was kind of just from like bits that I've read, and even just sound wise of how different it is. Like, and it's a big change.
Yeah, and it's weird how it like kind of paced. They almost seem for how much is like this being this total like unclear state of the Cure, and Robert has like 3 different projects going on. Basically, it's like
this shit takes up time too.
Kind of having a blast. What's that?
So it just takes a lot of time. Like
all
these little projects, like all these little things add up. Like that's a lot of work.
Yeah, this would be like 10 years worth of material for bands nowadays, or the Cure nowadays, or you know, I'd
be retiring on that Pornography money.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy, and it's like around this time too, like, and that's kind of the unclear part, even based after Lowell's book, like, you know, the 10 Imaginary Years book said that Lowell just was like, yeah, I'm cool with just giving up drumming and want to take piano lessons, and because they made it sound like all that happens before they get the idea to record Let's Go to Bed even, but then even in the his book, it's kind of hinted that they start recording Let's Go to Bed, which is, I guess, a good place to start with all this because it's the first song on Japanese Whispers and all, and like the first real single. But anyway, so yeah, that's where the first time they bring in the other drummer, and they're trying this whole different sound. It's like super poppy song. Their manager Chris Perry basically convinces Robert to record like a super poppy song. Robert doesn't want to do it at all, but he's like, well, fuck it. If the Cure doesn't exist, you might as well have fun with it and just go out in a weird way. And he's kind of like, all right. And they do it. And he like, there's all these like talks of like bets, but it's hard to say how much is that was just joking or bullshit or what.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
I take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it was like all the sources are a bit jumbled on that, but just like if it's a hit, I'll let you do whatever, but if it's not, then you gotta let me break out of my contract and just do solo shit. Because it did seem like Robert kind of just wanted to do something that wasn't under the Cure name. They said even Recure, he wanted to put it out under a different name.
Yeah.
And there was some like talk of Simon catching wind of them once they started recording Let's Go to Bed. And that was like how he officially realized he wasn't in the band anymore. So that was kind of sad.
Like he had no say in it. Is that why he left? He was just like,
well, he had pretty much left, but it was never declared like you're out or I'm leaving. It was just like the whole thing just ended. Like the tour ended and they just didn't talk to each other. And because they were such good friends, I think he didn't want to have to like kick him out, and Simon didn't want to have to say I'm out of the band. So I think on some level Simon was probably like, maybe we could just all take a break for a while and then get back together, or not, or make some kind of declarative statement. So it's always a pretty shitty way to find out if your like friends are in the studio without you, So it's like, okay, but it's like, so along those lines, I guess they got the idea and Robert was on board. He was kind of like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's go down with a pop hit, and or at least it's hard to tell. It sounds like Chris Perry keeps saying like, let's try for a hit. Let's just do something really cheesy and try for a hit. But I think like Robert was a little more invested in it than that. He wouldn't.
Yeah, because that does sound like kind of a bullshitty, easy out of just like, yeah, I want to write a fucking pop song, but I don't want people to fucking. I don't want the goth community to go like, oh, they fucking changed, which they did.
Yeah, everyone apparently, that's like the first round of people accusing them of selling out and everything once it finally comes out, and rightfully so. And it kind of makes sense of why
it's the big delineation, like the big rift for like a lot of fans, like like say someone like myself, but I don't draw that big delineation. Like I really like this record, and like, But
and I kind of took the angle
like
too.
All my favorite jams kind of stop after. No, they don't stop after this, but like those are like my favorite records,
right?
And this is where it ventures into like, still some of my favorite records, but not my favorite Cure.
Favorite, like ultimate tops. Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense, and I got the vibe. I mean, which seems the most sincere of Robert's history is that in like comparison of saying let's just try for a pop hit, ha ha ha, it was always like paired with every source says, but basically they just wanted to do the complete opposite as a fuck off to like guessing what the Cure would do next kind of thing.
Like, well, I've never thought of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all like the Cure fell apart because they got so gloomy that even they imploded, and it seems pretty obvious that Pornography to everyone was just like, damn, that's some heavy shit. So the natural reaction of like a Robert type sense of humor and musician and having those kind of punky roots, like you're saying earlier, would be just to be like, it's almost more punk rock to put out a fucking synth pop song, or something like that, where it's just like, whoa, wow, nobody expected this now, And a lot of that's probably based on the fact that he didn't want to try to do something like Pornography without Simon, or with Lowell on drums again. So it was like kind of just sink the ship, and do something totally different, that makes more sense.
Because so much of that is Simon's sound too, like like it's such an integral part. So you do almost have to just go like insular and just like do it yourself, just like get a bunch of keyboards, some drum machines,
right?
And it's cool, like, you know, what I really dig about it is, like, you know, like, they didn't fuck around. Like, I don't think they were goofing around, like, just like, oh, whatever, we'll have a laugh.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all that shit they were doing is like, and it's not like they were, like, steeped in, like, synthesizing and drum machine programming.
Yeah.
And shit like that. And they figured that shit out.
Yeah.
And they did a good motherfucking job. Like, that's not fucking about. Like, they're good fucking songs. That whole record's dope.
Yeah.
Like,
and the lyrics would have been way more wishy-washy if he had been, I mean, almost to the point, and not even to officially bash on Friday I'm in Love, but if they had been like those lyrics over something this, it would have been a little more on that vein, like, something that was a little more like, haha, I'm just goofing around in this way. But I mean, and he's been on the record saying the lyrics to Let's Go to Bed is total fucking nonsense, but it's not really that different than a lot of the shit before it. It's just more upbeat and kind of more poppy melody, so I mean it's hardly fucking Culture Club or anything, it's like the contemporaries of that time, as far as that stuff goes. And it's funny too, actually. I mean, I guess it kind of fits when we get in the thick of Japanese whispers a bit more, but like as a kid, even I always was fine with it right off the bat, but it was always the one where if people asked you what's like the most dated Cure sounding stuff, like it's always the album you're like, yeah, that one definitely sounds like it's from the 80s, which I guess is still true, because like, everything else that's more guitar-y and shit doesn't sound like 80s stuff by any means, but but it's weird because so many people in later years or whatever have tried to mimic that sound so much now that it sounds,
absolutely
pretty modern again somehow, and it's like, so it's that kind of weird twist that the one thing that they did do that kind of dated them was at least smart enough to be something that people would intentionally try to do later again. So
yeah, totally.
I don't know how much of that was like a conscious effort, but it just shows what a good band they are, I think. But.
Yeah, like every once in a while, like going to see shows, and like I remember just there's a bunch of venues in Baltimore. They'd always play like dope music for like a show, and more than once, motherfuckers put on Japanese whispers, and it just sounded so fucking good over like a decent little sound system, and like just kind of pumping in a club, and like they sounded so relevant, and so like I imagine a bunch, like there's probably people there that had no clue that there was that was the Cure, and we're just like, fuck yeah, it's just
1983.
This sounds so good. Like just thinking it was like a fucking modern band, like an edgy modern band. And so many people, like, especially nowadays, just it's fucking around with some reverb and a drum machine. It's pretty easy to do now. But still, like, it doesn't sound the same. Like, they did some cool shit, like.
And that's even getting into the thick of the Walk single more, I guess, if we're keeping it in line there. I guess just a couple quick words on the Japanese, or Let's Go to Bed before we dive into the more synthesizer programmed stuff. But one of the strange side notes of the Let's Go to Bed was that it was the first time they brought in a different session drummer for Let's Go to Bed. That's Stephen Goldling, who played with the Associates. Elvis Costello, he played on Watching the Detectives and stuff like that. So pretty awesome drummer dude, but he was like the first dude, and I guess he played also on Just One Kiss, the B-side, which is pretty weird and cool to not hear a lull beat, It's just like, what? And it's pretty weird, like in the sense that like Just One Kiss, because everyone latched on to the sell out whatever of Let's Go to Bed, but really when you listen to Just One Kiss, of what a badass song that is, and if that was like produced totally different, it definitely like could have been on Pornography, or at least something closer, because it does have like that rambly kind of bass line still, and like the cool kind of drum beat and stuff.
Yeah, just a real simple beat, like very repetitive.
Yeah.
But I love that song, man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's like that's the song that like I was saying just a minute ago, where it's just like it sounds so relevant and just it was recorded for a long time ago, and it was a B-side on a.
It's so relevant, but so dated at the same time. It's very strange. I don't know how the hell you pull that off.
I don't know. The dated term sounds weird to me. I don't like to use that, because things do sound very dated.
Yeah.
Not Kenny Loggins.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I still think it's more production stuff that sounds dated. I've kind of come to terms with that musically, where
but it's
like
all cute now.
Yeah.
It's like to make things sound dated.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's like an effort to make it sound like that. But that kind of just means it's come back in a wave again, But like listening to some 90s rock now, is where I'm at, where I'm just like, oh yeah, I mean, it's a cool song, but it just sounds so fucking 90s rock, like 80s stuff almost sounds weird now because it's like cool again, where it doesn't sound dated because it is like, and when they do sound like it current days, it doesn't really, it sounds like it's meant to, and it's more retro and cool or whatever, but 90s isn't quite cool enough yet. I don't think I'm just like, some of it works, but
I know. It's funny. I've been listening to just a couple bands lately. I won't name any names, but they're kind of like modernish bands, but they're kind of just doing a take on like shoegaze with like a little Dinosaur Jr. Come at you, ness, just a little aggressive.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. It's very 90s.
Yeah, but it's there, man.
I forgot my point, but it also, I don't know. It didn't sound like dated. I didn't think dated.
Yeah, and it's weird because, I mean, even 90s now, it's been so long where it's like you hear it and it's kind of cool again in certain elements. There's that newer band Wussy that's pretty cool, but I think they're older dudes, so they probably, which gives it a little less like, man, you just...
They were putting out records in the 90s.
Yeah, I don't know if they were putting them out. They were in different bands, I think, but they're like a cooler band now. But like, I will name bands, I guess. but I mean, it's cool, but it is kind of like, it's cool 90s in a way where it's still kind of fine tuned. Like you listen to some of this, I guess it's just like shittier stuff or lo-fi stuff from the 90s. It's just like, man, it's awesome, but it just sounds so fucking cheap in 90s, which, it probably will sound cool again in about, 5 years or something.
I know they weren't 90s, but for some reason I just want to say like, you'll end up sounding like Puddle of Mud.
Like Puddle of Mud.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
some like horrible like Nirvana.
Yeah, that's all.
Like
I think that's what it is.
Post grunge or whatever. Like,
and a lot of that is just like the production or something. If it just gets too like chordy with distortion and the fucking smashing the fucking crash cymbals too much and shit. It's like, I mean, there's a lot of
big chorus guys. Everyone, here we go.
Yeah, so who knows, But none of that going on here. This is straight up 80s. And, Tim Pope, side note, just to follow the thread of Tim Pope through all this too. Let's Go to Bed's the first time they pull in Tim Pope as a video director, which I think has a huge impact on their image and their sound too, in a sense of like commercial success and stuff, and like intentional or not. This is like the idea of just doing something goofy again for the video and seeing that goofy side of the Cure. If you think about the last time that we saw a Cure video before Let's Go to Bed, it's Hanging Garden. So the difference between like that video and the video for Let's Go to Bed is pretty drastically different. If you were,
it's like watching a seance versus watching a commercial.
Yeah.
Like between the two,
Yeah, watching Lowell decorate a Christmas tree. There's a lot of goofy shit going on in that video, but it makes it lovable. I mean, I remember as a kid getting the whole batch and like that being like, whoa, what the fuck? This is fun, And I mean, it's like, it's funny when you see the whole package and the lump sum, it's like totally different, but at the same time you're just like, oh cool, they have personality, it's like
it definitely did make me think as a young man, kind of seeing that, like you said, all at like just kaboom, here's a VHS tape with fucking 20 videos on it or whatever, and you're kind of being almost more challenged by this than like the early videos.
Yeah.
You know, because it was so different, and like, I guess just being young and not knowing, like I didn't know everything that was going on behind it, and like, why are they silly now?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, if this was all a joke to them, like that's the impact they're leaving on people, or like probably like shit they were making like leading up to this. They were like probably thinking like, this is gonna challenge some motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Like people are gonna be thinking about this, like they're gonna feel uneasy or
right. Well, that's how Robert had like the funny quote of like, I knew it went, because it was like a modest hit chart wise even, but it didn't like totally blow up, and he was all like, well, I knew it wouldn't fucking take off, because it was like anyone that previously liked The Cure, like was gonna be pissed that we were just acting like a bunch of fucking dipshits now, and then like, and anybody that didn't know us, it was still too weird to be like a pop hit, and it was like, which is The Cure in a nutshell. I mean, even if you pick apart Friday I'm in Love, I mean, it's still a pretty fucking weird song and stuff. I mean, they're always great at, like, even when they get super poppy, it's like you can never take The Cure out of The Cure kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's still
be it
fucking
like
weird.
Gnarly or tongue in cheek, or is it tongue in cheek? I don't know.
Totally. But going back to the idea of our actual
fuckers,
our personal side too, the next single that would come out would be The Walk, which would be more of an extended EP in itself, where it's like a walk, like a single that had, let's see, a redone version of Lament, The Dream, Upstairs Room.
So good.
So like kind of the bulk of the record for the most part. So The Dream, Upstairs Room, and Lament. Yeah, I guess we're all on that. And we had it as the Fly tape. Like that's what I got even before Japanese Whispers, I think. Were you in the same boat with that then, or like the tape with the Fly
think so.
on the cover?
But I don't know which I got first, but like I listened to that tape with the Fly on the cover because I like the length of it.
Yeah,
it's probably like still to this date like probably one of my favorite like singles, maxi singles or whatever of theirs. Like I can listen to it like 2 or 3 times. Like when I listen to it, like I don't listen to it just once. It's like always two.
Oh, actually, yeah. Let's Go to Bed is tossed on the end of it, so they kind of redid it already. Is like so weird. It's like, I guess because it's like a extra. It's like a short version of Japanese Whispers. So I guess it's all Japanese Whispers without Love Cats and Speak My Language, but so it has like just like one,
which is a tighter.
What's that?
Taking those 2 off, man. That's a tighter little,
which does make it exactly what you're saying. Where it's like it's pretty fucking seamless, man. That's like a solid 6 songs there, and that's pretty much, we'll get to the weirdness of throwing Love Cats and Speak My Language out there. But,
I know,
but it's but yeah, it's weird. And I remember this being one of the original batches that I got from my friend. Is my Here You Take All the Cure tapes, and that was in there, which even
done and done.
Yeah, and then which made it hard to even want to get, just like
my mom took me to the mall to get this tape. I guess you can have it.
It's yours now. Do with it if you will. But because then, like, I had Standing on the Beach by that point, so I already had Love Cats. So it was like buying a CD just to get Speak My Language. It's like, but you got to do it, and so yeah, it's a fucking solid, and that's kind of
for Japanese Whispers. Like, well, this is like The Walk, but worse.
Yeah, which is the first of getting a few Cure moments of like, so buying like a slightly shittier version of the thing I already had. Like, all right, why stop now? I guess.
I know.
Fucking 30 years later, I'm still doing it. I guess, but
but I love that tape.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. Like, I love the redone version of Lament. Like we were talking about with that flexi pop thing. Not only did they finally get that recorder taken out that drives me crazy. That's out of tune.
I need to go back and make a point to listen to that version. I can't.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on
Join the
YouTube
Dots
even
channel.
or something. Yeah, you got Join the Dots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on there.
It's a lot to sift through.
Yeah, and it's cool still. I mean, it just sounds like really warbly too. Like we're just like. It's like kind of hurts a little bit, but the song's so fucking good, and the lyrics are still dark, and like that's what's funny because all these are like so like Poppy Cure, but I mean
no, it's not.
It isn't really. I mean, yeah, I mean it's still not even full on, OMD at their dorkiest by any means, It's like it's really still pretty fucking dark, if you swap out a lot of these. I mean, maybe like the Dream gets a little like. I don't know. I mean, it's just so weird still that it's like not like weird, but it's just like you still don't really know what the hell he's talking about, and it's like
vampire. It's like, let's go to bed. Like that.
He still keeps all the key elements in that make it a Cure song.
Yeah, talk about bats.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like there's definitely like, the few kind of like, ones you would deem like a poppy kind of song, and there's maybe like, I'd say if you count Love Cats, Let's Go to Bed and The Walk, I think is kind of poppy.
Yeah. What about The Dream though? Do you think that's like the most synth poppy? I mean, there's like all synths going on in that one. Like even Upstairs Rooms, you can hear that kind of like 80s guitar going like like hitting those like chords and shit in there, But yeah, I think The Dream, it's all like just fucking straight up. But I don't know. And it is kind of sad.
I don't think of it as like super poppy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I still look at it as kind of like
dark pop.
Yeah, dark wave.
Yeah.
Whatever, but
I'm on board. That's even like the Upstairs Room I feel like is like a fun song in a sense.
That song's dope.
But it's like, it got so much like cool just the bridge on that song fucking rules. I love that one. I feel like that's probably like one of their most underrated songs where it's like never gets mentioned or anything. It's just like
it's really
that
good.
It's really fucking cool. It's like I feel like even the lyrics are good, but it's like kind of sweet, but not. It's just kind of a nice glimpse into like poppy later Cure, even. Where it's just like.
It definitely sets like a little. I don't know. It sets a nice little tone. Like it explains like a nice little.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it explains, but it explains something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but it's great.
Yeah, but he sets like a very like odd little.
What about
like two people hanging out in a house or something, and just like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, totally. It paints
I'm
nice
horrible
picture.
with deciphering lyrics.
Right. I think we all are when it comes to Cure songs. It's fun.
Yeah.
What about the song "The Walk"? Even, I mean, for what a staple that's become. I mean, it's funny because "Let's Go to Bed" seems a little more like surface pop, but like even "The Walk," it's just like there's a lot going on, and it's like definitely darker still. I mean, it kind of has that shadow of Blue Monday hanging over it a little bit, but I don't ever even really think of it in the same anymore, by any means. All it has is similar as the
fucking... That's dumb, man. Like they bought the same fucking drum machine and they bought the same fucking synthesizer and it's all fucking new. Like I hate that argument, and it's like who stole what? It's like who gives a fuck?
Right.
Like there's so many bands that sounded the same that were completely fucking different bands. Like they went to they all went to the Guitar Center and bought the same fucking pedals and amps, and
of course it was gonna happen. Yeah, I mean, the songs just sound ultimately nothing alike. I mean, if you just look at the structure and what the fuck's going on, I mean, there's just nothing that's similar other than the little. But it's
and they're in the same scene. They get lumped in just naturally, and there's like. You're in England and there's like Enemy and a little like pop culture music mags and shit. Like they're looking this shit to write about. It's
I thought
false
Lowell's
facts,
book was like
man.
really articulated well, where it was like where he did that part in the book where he kind of, we won't like read it to you or anything, but it was like really well described as, you know, that defense of, we all just bought the same shit like you're saying, and you know, it's like the song was actually written before it came out, but it just seemed that way, and it was like,
I know, and Lowell
it's like,
totally like Lowell summed it up, and he's just like, yeah, it was like written, like released and written and recorded like before they even fucking recorded.
Yeah, so I mean, it was like something with the timeline. He justified it all, and it made total sense. And
now I hate New Order and Blue Monday.
Yeah, nah, it's a great song.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, what the fuck? What's the
shit?
What is the ultimate outcome? Yeah. What is the desired outcome of that? So. And a way better chart hit even than "Let's Go to Bed." "Let's Go to Bed" made it to like 44 on the billboards there, and The Walk was in at number 12, so almost cracking the top 10. So.
Yeah, and it's cool too, cause like The Walk's a little darker.
Yeah, it is cool. You would think that "Let's Go to Bed." I wonder if there's been like
people are like,
somehow.
fuck yeah, they're getting like a little taste of some Dark Cure over like some fucking cool drum machines and shit.
Yeah.
You know, where "Let's Go to Bed" was so fucking left field, you know?
Yeah.
But The Walk was a little more like familiar.
Yeah, maybe like
and just
current Cure
song.
Fans would be a little more into that too.
Like,
you know?
Yeah, it's like I don't like the new stuff, but The Walk's alright.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Especially backed with a bunch of fucking really good B-sides or whatever you want to call them, you know? The other songs.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
So that makes sense. So that's all like July of '83.
What was the B-side to The Walk?
That was like Dream and Lament and Upstairs Room were all part of that on the tape there. So yeah, those are all going on July.
Oh, that's right. I keep thinking like it's like Walk being. I keep forgetting it's like no, that's a record.
Yeah,
but
it's like
to me it's a record, but no, it's a single. I keep forgetting like, but no, that's what was on the record. But God, what a damn good single! Fuck.
Totally.
See, now I love it all over again. I keep forgetting the fact that it's a fucking single, and then I remember it, and then my mind is blown.
It's like a title track, you mean? Like for the whole...
Oh, just the whole unit.
Yeah.
All the B-sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a dope single.
Yeah. I'm down with that. And
that's great when a band's like extended play single is better than some band's whole catalog or whole like for real records that they put out. Like this is just a single, man.
I mean, I'd take that fucking tape over 90% of most bands' whole careers for sure. It's like 6 goddamn songs. But
yeah. And Japanese Whispers is just like an engorged. It's a tumescent Walk single.
Yeah, it's so weird that I guess it's all still kind of just based on that. Then re-releasing it so people will hear it, because it is so weird. I mean, when you really strip it down, and that's why it technically isn't an album, it's just 3 singles. It's like Walk being a fatter single, Let's Go to Bed like a normal little single, and then followed up, you know, like that was July, and then by November they put out Love Cats, which is already a huge even departure from that, because they get all like kind of new wave jazzy at this point or whatever the fuck's going on, and it's like it's so weird. And then like putting all of that together for Japanese Whispers at the end of '83 in December is when they put it out. So it's so weird.
I feel like you could like kick Love Cats over to like Kiss Me, and it would like fit in.
Yeah, I almost wonder like if Love Cats, if they had just like saved that, even like Speak My Language and then the forgotten one of Mr. Pink Eyes, which is a weird
twist. It's a jam.
Yeah, because that was a B-side for...
the weird twist.
Yeah. It's like some glove residue shit going on. Yeah, it's like Mr. Pink Eyes is fucking awesome, though. I love that song. I think it's great.
Me too.
I think they could have... I mean, they really could have put any of those on the top, though, in a way, too, and it would have totally, like, lightened up the top, you know, because top is so, like, kind of weird and worldly. We'll get into that, but, like, and all over the fucking place that, like, why not throw fucking... weird new wave jazz song about cats and shit, you know, like fuck it might have made it a little funner actually. So
I know.
So they probably could have used that, but yeah, it's weird that they, for whatever the fuck reason, though, even in doing this, you think they would have just thrown Mr. Pink Eyes onto Japanese Whispers. I wonder why they left that off. I mean, you kind of know why they left it off, but I mean, Speak My Language doesn't really fit either. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why put Speak My Language on there, but I guess it's the. I don't know. Mr. Pink Eyes wouldn't have really.
I mean, at least that's got words. I mean, Speak My Language half the time just like it's like cool bass line, but I mean, Jesus. But yeah, so that fills out Japanese Whispers is Speak My Language, no Mr. Pink Eyes, but then Love Cats in itself is kind of a weird milestone where that becomes their biggest hit to date, first top 10 single. So they're finally getting that taste now of like, fuck, this is actually kind of working, which is dangerous and cool for The Cure.
That's like, the biggest hit to date?
Yeah, number 7 on the Billboards or whatever the hell the top charts were at that time, but... Yeah.
That even beat like Love Song and
no, not to date, but at date of at this.
Jesus, I was like, what?
No.
That made no sense. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I just didn't understand.
I wasn't being clear. But I'm in 1983 right now. I'm like a method actor. I'm like fucking nothing has happened beyond 1983.
This is your Gangs of New York.
Yeah, I'm 6 years old right now. That's what...
Are you Abe Lincoln right now?
I'm like, love that thing about Love Cats. That would be awesome. I could spend your life in like chronological order, like giving a podcast about a band. That would be great. But it's getting weird now. But yeah. But fucking Love Cats. I don't know. I love it. I think it's a cool song. I mean, seeing it in this context definitely makes me a little more like, what? You know, but like just as a standalone single of like how we got introduced to them and it was a song on Standing on the Beach. I love it. I think it's fucking weird and cool and it's fun.
Yeah, it's fucking solid.
Yeah.
It's a fucking fantastic song.
Quick side note again, Tim Pope with the videos and we kind of jumped over the Walks video, which is another weird one but cool, but kind of becoming their main man and would be for a little while then, Tim Pope making cool kind of fun videos for The Cure, and that was the first time we're seeing any of this, and the Love Cats is no exception. Just a weird ass cool video, but one that kind of grabbed me initially as a kid. I remember really digging
Love Cats.
Yeah, the Love Cats video of just them like having fun in a weird little fucking room and cats running around and cool wardrobe and just not knowing what the hell these dudes are all about, you know? What was your initial reaction? You were just like, oh, disgusting. How dare they have fun?
A little bit. Like I no, like it was kind of cute. Like my first reaction, you know, it's like the songs are good and like it was just cool to see them, but like you know, seeing it through an older lens or whatever.
Yeah, but as a kid, I'm saying it was pretty grabbing. I mean, there's only so much you could do with it, obviously. And even Tim Pope was kind of like, I didn't really feel like he felt like he weirded up an otherwise like poppy song with the walk, which is true. But like he
like, hey, you guys are just fucking around? Me too.
Yeah, so they just had kind of a party video or whatever for a song. But I mean, what the fuck could you do to Love Cats if you made it all dark and like
put kittens in it?
Yeah, I mean, but if you had like an angry cat in the video or something, I mean, what the fuck could you do to that song, like video wise, director wise? I mean,
I would have strapped a GoPro to a cat and just had it like be a outside cat and
it'd be like America's Funniest Home Videos of like a cat.
But with cats.
I would string together, right? They walked up the
I would string together 40 memes of cats doing cute shit and just play this like cats knocking things down off of shelves and stuff.
There you go.
You know, like
on turntables, like put a cat on a turntable.
Have you seen a cat scratch? I mean, turntables.
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
You know. Oh, dude, I think we just went viral.
Yeah.
Just talking about cats.
We don't even have to.
But doing it back then, you know, was a huge to do and a huge stink. Like, it was a lot. Just to make a fucking video and come up with a concept.
Oh yeah, something that was like remotely watchable. Yeah, most of them were just so terrible. They would just be like all the other Cure videos. If they hadn't been such cool songs, all their videos were terrible until Tim Pope, pretty much. I mean, it's like it's like them just standing in a white room or something. You know, it's like, wow, you thought about this for like 15 minutes. But.
No, I've always liked them, like ingesting the Cure, like. More audio than visual.
Yeah.
And even kind of back in the day, it was cool to see them, you know. And I definitely went through like a period of just like watching the videos all the fucking time, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a cool thing with most of the Tim Pope ones is that it was able to like make something that was visually cool that stood alone. It didn't like. Even if you didn't think it helped the song, it definitely didn't ruin it like a lot of videos do. And it definitely didn't like make you change the way you think about the song, you know? I mean...
Exactly.
So like...
It was goofy enough to pique interest.
Yeah.
Interest was already piqued, you know?
Yeah, because he was good about, I mean, maybe Love Cats aside, like not taking the literal approach to what it is, you know? And like, it would just be a weird, cool video. Not like anything to do.
It just it really added, you know, to like the what the fuck is with this band like aspect of it, of getting all this kind of almost at one. I don't know, like getting like a chunk of videos and a video.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other
thing, like all this shit at once.
Weird thing in itself. Yeah, it's weird enough getting all the albums all at once, but then like seeing their whole video collection pretty soon around that time too, we're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it was such like a that's what I like about it. Mm-hmm. It is just like the what the fuck is going on here aspect of it, because it's like. I don't know. A lot of people just like write out the fucking same sound to the shore forever and don't change. You know, and there's been some good bands that have done that too. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, but I mean, what
a
huge shift! Like a huge fucking shift, just sonically, visually.
Yeah.
And that's you know, that's bold.
Yeah. And not to even keep harping on the timeline, but just the fact that they've shifted so much within that time frame of like 82 Pornography wraps up, 82 November they put out Let's Go to Bed, July of 83 they put out The Walk, but then even by like October of that same year they put out Love Cats. And then like the top will come out in like April of 84, so it's like already fucking recorded by that point, you know. And it's like
I've gone that whole time frame debating like whether or not I should like mow my lawn, and I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
And they did this huge drastic shit.
And that's only Cure related shit. I mean, I've even already said that, because then he puts out the fucking Glove, which is a whole fucking weird monstrosity that we'll talk about in a whole episode of its own. But and then Susie, which is fucking joining a band at the end of them recording an album. He goes on tour with them. They go back into the studio and record Aina, which was like a marathon session apparently too. Like that didn't even come out till after the Top. Technically, it took so long to just and that's what kind of broke.
I do see why, man. It's
awesome, but you can see why it kind of like broke him too, because he got like bogged down in like a studio album with this band that he just wanted to fucking be a guitarist in, you know. And it was like they were like just. Which is really crazy and weird and kind of unfortunate, you know, because it would have been a good outlet, I think, for him to just kind of cut loose and just do the touring and shit. Maybe that's what, like, didn't work so much in the long run. But we'll do a whole Susie and Robert episode in itself, too. So we tried to keep all that shit, like, separate. But just knowing that all that was going on at the same fucking time is crazy, you know? And it's like... I mean, it's so productive, and like just the fact that this is all kind of him, kind of what we touched on earlier of him having his retirement phase in a sense, where it almost like when you read like the the quotes and stuff, he's just kind of like, I'm just fucking doing what I want. I'll record a single here and there, and I'll go play with the banshees. I'll do some drugs and record the glove. And I mean, but it's like, good God, this sounds stressful as fuck. Just looking at it now, even of like having like all this going on at once, it's like, good. It's like
it's like the dude. For some reason, I'm just picturing like a some redneck guy. He's like, man, I'm gonna get my electrician's license, and man, once I get that, I'm getting that fucking jet ski, and they like do all their best work, maybe get their like bust their balls, working, apprenticeship, get your master craftsman license or whatever, and then you buy the jet ski and fuck around on a lake.
So this is them.
Like maybe this is Robert's jet ski.
Yeah, this is the payoff of all the.
He has the luxury finally to like. Maybe I'll be in this band. Maybe I'll be in this band. Maybe I'll be both.
Yeah, because it didn't seem like it was bothering him in the slightest. Like everybody else around him was stressed out as fuck. Like Lowell's like, oh my God, am I even in a band? I'm kind of playing keyboards in this band. Simon's not in the band. Chris Perry's like, what the fuck? I'm losing the only like real band I have on my label. Like he doesn't know.
The engineer's playing bass and writing songs.
Yeah. Like Susie thinks they have a fucking guitarist, but they don't even really know if he's in the band. But I mean, he sounds like 100% committed to everything he's doing. So it's not like he's being a total flake and just like fucking off and like, which would be totally acceptable too, being a 24-year-old like with 6 projects going on. But I mean, it's like so weird. And maybe the big payoff even more than this being his jet ski on the lake moment is gonna be the top, which is coming up, where he kind of by that point eventually is kind of, especially by the time they tour for the top, like where he's kind of broke ties with Susie by that point, I think, and got the Cure, like has a band going
Broke
again.
Ties sounds so gnarly.
Yeah, that sounds shitty. I don't know what the full, but like, you know what I mean? Like where he's officially not in the band anymore, at least. But so we'll see. I don't know. The top is on the horizon. That's going to be fun to dive into. The fucking, the saga.
No one knows what's coming next.
The saga continues. I don't know. I'm in the moment. It's 1983. But, I don't know. I think it holds up as a collection of singles, even if it is weird with the little Love Cats top off there. But I think it's
totally it is. And I my takeaway is that like it does have the feel of like a transition.
Yeah.
And sometimes, when you're doing something kind of gnarly, like all the shit they were doing before, there's pretty heavy stuff. And like just to change gears, man, do you slow it down, like, and ease into this big change? You do a big drastic, like, bam, like we got drum machines, motherfuckers. And they're just a huge change in sound. And like, we're doing a little jazzy waltz fuck around song on this record. Like,
such
none of the songs are terrible.
Air. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, when you're in something that gnarly, like, it has to be a pretty drastic thing to change that direction. And, and it did that.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. And it's, not to... talk about the top, but like I like this a lot better than I like the top.
Yeah,
I like this a lot better than a bunch of their other records. following the top as well. Like,
well, 2 closing points too to get your opinion on. I was curious about one we had mentioned in the past, even. This was the closest we ever got to a full-on synth Cure, like a synth pop album, which is a bit unfortunate, I feel, and I have a feeling you're probably in the same boat. Like I kind of wish we'd gotten a little bit more of, stuff that is like from the core of Japanese Whispers, being like that Walk single mainly, with like The Dream and Upstairs Room, and those ones that are just like
Just One Kiss.
Yeah, just a lot of those that would fall more in the synth pop kind of category. I would have liked to hear a little bit more of that because
absolutely,
it's a little sad, but at the same time, you can see how he's an awesome guitarist and a dude that needs to be in an actual band. I think more than but yeah, it would have been cool, and it's weird. But do you think that it holds weight being the only taste of that real?
It does. Like it's like I'm happy that I have that, like, because I love I love synth pop and and just the like if I do imagine like what it would be like if like the top was just like a full-on like focused synth pop album versus like a collection of singles.
And even if you take like the more like New Order side of it, where it's still guitars going on and shit, it'd be more like just one kiss, and it's like that would have been cool even. But I mean, even if they'd taken it more like OMD and shit, that would have been fucking cool to see what they came up with too, So,
like totally, and it's like. Dude can write a song, and just imagine some of these like, just imagine like his. Well, you don't have to imagine because it was recorded on the fucking walk, but like, or Japanese Whispers or whatever, just a good synth poppy pop song that, written by The Cure, like they can do some damage, like. In a good way, like they can really hammer some shit out.
Because I feel like
just
even with synth
whole
pop,
record of that
synth pop stuff is so weird for me anyway, and it's something I always harp back onto probably every episode. But like just the songwriting side of it and the craft of the songwriting, and like, and I feel like even with all those synth pop bands that are the more defining ones of the genre and stuff, even Depeche Mode and stuff, with like. It always boils down to if it's just a fucking good song or not. You can have the bleeps and blops going all day long and it'd be cool and the tones are cool, but like what makes it a fucking great song is just if it's a great song. If you could fucking hammer it out on an acoustic guitar, even that just shows that it's a great song, and like and Robert's so fucking good at that, where it is kind of a shame where it's like, man, he could take like just any of those songs that like even would have been on the top, and if you probably could transform them back into like some kind of kind of song, for something would have been really cool to see. But
and I think the top is such like an interchangeable record. It could be, because it's not like it has its moments, but it's not one of those big ones for me,
I mean, we'll dive into that for sure.
But
along those lines too, and it kind of fits with the second question being, it's funny how like there's a huge part of me that even to their current tour that we just saw them on, like, there's a part of my huge wish list that would always be like, man, that'd be fucking great to hear like Just One Kiss or, Upstairs Room. And all those ones that, like we said, just don't even really get mentioned, let alone played, like Lament and stuff would be like so cool to hear. But then there's a part of me that's like weird because the ones that have become huge staples, like Let's Go to Bed and Walk and Love Cats, as much as I love the recordings of those songs, and maybe the Walk only because we hear it so much, but it's like they're always kind of my least favorite ones live. Not that they sound bad by any means, but it's just always kind of like
they're doing it with the band.
Yeah, it just doesn't have like the same feel, and maybe it's a bit nitpicky to say, but you kind of agree, it's kind of like where those are kind of my least favorite live Cure songs to hear. Even Let's Go to Bed, it's like it's a cool song, but just never really has the same oomph, when it's like a band playing it, and like,
because like the whole charm is like, it is like the cold digital, man, like, or the cold analog of the drum machines and the keyboards and like,
because I mean the Walk probably would sound a little cooler if it had a little more like New Order-y, where it was like kind of sloppy, like kind of thing going on, and like the full drum pad of like
man.
kind of thing, you know. But it's like they almost play it too well, you know. It's like,
yeah, totally.
It's like kind of weird. So yeah, I wonder if they did do like, you know, the Dream or something live, it wouldn't really have the same punch anyway. So maybe I should stop fantasizing.
I know. They play for 3 hours. You think they'd throw some some of this shit in, man? They have the time.
Maybe
they're doing it.
Eventually they'll get to it. When they're like 80, they'll be like, finally, we'll just fucking play this and shut everybody up.
I know. But the Bad Boys review is it's fucking solid, man.
Yeah.
It's one of my faves. Like it's high up there. Like it's one of my big summertime jams.
Yeah.
Like, I like to
it's a seasonal.
I like to I like to sit outside. I like to crank it. I like to crank it inside the house. Open up a door and sit outside and like hang out and listen to it really loud. In, you know, cuz I like hearing the drum machine just like doof doof doof. You know, like it I don't know, it adds to it. It makes me feel like I'm in the proper environment listening to it, just like kind of fucking cranked, and I like hearing it, you know, booming around the house, but not being in the house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Vaguely, yes. That's cool. Yeah.
But, and I don't know, for some reason that goes far for me. Like, I dig that.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of it. And it's almost like waving goodbye to a friend for a while.
Yeah. I dig that.
You know, because, like, you guys are about to go on some journeys that, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's a weird glimpse because, like we said, it doesn't really come back to this, and it wasn't what was before it, so it is like a bridge for sure. So.
And it is like what could have been, what wasn't, what became. You know, it's
yeah, maybe it was all just kind of fucking off and capturing the moment at the time, you know, and that's a beauty in that
it's the
too.
Crossroads.
Yeah, it's the crossroads.
I sold my soul to the devil,
and then I got the top.
And for this,
like,
I feel cheated.
Wait a minute. Like, it'll work out. It'll all pan out, man. Just be patient, Robbie boy.
I know.
But yeah, it's weird you say summer though. You said summer seasonal, right? So open up.
Man.
Like for some reason, I get like dark winter Christmas vibe, even though it's kind of poppy.
Christmas.
Yeah, it might just be because I feel like they reference Christmas even more than just "Let's Go to Bed." But like this is like my Christmas album. Like I'll put it on, like beginning of Christmas. Yeah, this is like hopefully the closest they ever get to a Christmas album. But like I feel like it just
I don't know, man. I'm digging the idea.
It's totally completely different than you, so it's weird. But yeah, like I feel like it's like dark. The windows are down. There's some Christmas lights going. And just put it on and let the Christmas lights and the music shine in the darkness. But because it's like you want to feel good, but you know it's all bullshit. So it's like
it's like
that's
the
my
poppy dark song where it's like you want to feel good, but you know it's all bullshit.
Yeah, you're like forcing yourself to feel good. So that's kind of what.
Is that what a meme is?
Sure, man. It is tonight. So maybe on that note, we'll say see you next
Merry
time.
Christmas.
And Merry Christmas from the Holy
Happy
Hour.
Hanukkah.
And we'll see you when this shit turns into some weird shit on the top. So start rolling.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the top one, man.
Yeah,
it's going to be weird.
It's one
I want some...
I feel like of the old batch, like pre-Wish, this is Everybody's Wild Mood Swings, and I'll elaborate on that more later. This is the one that people are always like hit or miss, like passionate about, or they totally hate the top, you know?
I know what's up. I know exactly what you're saying, and like I want to put a call out to the listeners, like I want to do an album episode for the top, but I do want some listener
opinions on the top.
I want to pick like the top 3 listener comments on it, because I want some. outside feedback on this album because it is so
that would be
weird,
great.
man. I've gone through phases of loving the top, hating the top. I'm currently in a hating the top, but
right on. Yeah, I mean, I feel
you know what I mean.
It really does.
And
yeah.
I don't think I'm the only one.
Nah, and I'm there to a certain degree with you. Where it's like always constantly changing. It's a weird fucking album. So
yeah.
So let's hear it from you guys. Let's get some top comments. Like, we don't mean to hog these album ones, but they're just so easy for us to dive into. So, but yeah, send anything you got to gavinconner@gmail.com, and otherwise subscribe on iTunes so you don't miss a single episode, and find us on Instagram where you catch all the updates, and then go on over to that Facebook page and see what the hell we're talking about in between the cracks on everything else. So go over there and like that Facebook page. Yes.
Yeah, and you can catch me at thetonezone.org and badboy@aol.com. And it's something with Kenny Loggins.
Snatch on Snapchat.
You just Kenny Loggins 69 on Friendster or whatever.
We really want to get this one out there, so please stand by Donald's Kenny Loggins podcast. And until that takes off, I guess you're stuck here talking about The Cure. So
yeah, I'm halfway to the Tone Zone, and you can get there all the way and talk hard, man.
Playing with the boys. All right, talk hard. See you next time. I will use it up tomorrow if we don't use it today. 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 We've been starting up something too on Spotify. I'm using the free version of Spotify, so I'm not really sure access of how hard it is or convenient or what through phones and computers. But on Spotify, we started a playlist of some of our friends and guests that have been on the show. We're going to start asking any new guests that come on the show too to give us your quick Cure playlist. We've been sticking to the number 13 for a lot of the playlist tracks, and we've backtracked and gotten some playlists from people that have contributed to the show over the first 50 episodes there. So if you just want a new Cure mix to listen to, go find the Holy Hour podcast page on Spotify. And I think there's about 6 or almost 8 playlists up right now, including Donald in mine. And see if they match up. There's a lot of weird crossovers. There's a few twists and turns here. So a lot of cool stuff if you're just looking for a new Cure mix to throw on. So on Spotify, check that out. The link for that can be found also on the Facebook page. But I think if you just search the Holy Hour podcast on Spotify, it should pop up as a page. Thanks so much. Be sure to check out our friend Arusha's website and her upcoming project, Push, a Cure Fan Documentary, at curefandocumentary.com. And go on over to Mixed Up Gifts. We always like to throw that out there because there's so much cool stuff for you to browse on the website of mixedupgifts.com. We'll catch you soon, and thanks again for listening.